Don't ever pay. Don't ever pray for patience. Don't ever pray for strength, because what God will do is bring a situation into your life that he'll give you the opportunity to practice that patience. If you pray for strength, he'll give you the opportunity to exercise strength. If you pray for presence, which we're talking about today, he's going to give you the opportunity to exercise that presence. Well, it just happened just a second ago. I went and this is the second episode this morning, which makes me super happy. I got a smile on my face being in the studio and sharing time with you guys on Inchstones, which is the going with the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day. It is September 27th, and we're going through Proverbs 27. But I did the episode right before this, which was Proverbs 26. We didn't get a chance to record yesterday. And guess what? The camera didn't come on. Like the battery was out in one of the cameras. Also, I was stuttering. Go back to the last episode. I was stuttering a lot. I wasn't present because I was thinking about, what's the next scene going to be? Where am I going to go? What's going to be the next one? And I wasn't present exactly where I'm supposed to be. And, this was the whole entire message this morning as I sat down with God, and I was thinking, I'm going to be able to deliver this message today. I'm going to talk about presence and things like that. And what God was saying is, no, I'm going to show you how to be able to practice presence, because I'm going to make your circumstances not exactly the way that you want them to be. And if your circumstances right now in your life, wherever you're at, are not exactly what you planned them to be when you were 5 years old and you were thinking up the perfect life, if that's you, this episode today is exactly for you. When we're going to be talking about today, if you're not living the exact life, which none of us are, this episode, this Proverbs 27 is exactly for you. See, I had my pops that would constantly tell me just to settle in, to realize that, to be present where I was. And this was one of the hardest things ever. Then when he passed and he went on to heaven, then I had my brother Rob and I had my best friend Will, and they would constantly tell me, respect the past, reverence the future, but reside in this moment right here, because this is really, truly where the magic happens, even if it's not exactly what you planned. So let's get this party started.
Nothing more on my mind. I got two shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
So what are you going to do? Even this, with the scene going not exactly the way that I want it to go, and I have to walk away and be able to change it. How are we going to be able to stay present, and how are we going to be able to stay grateful? And I'm grateful that the exact scene that I was supposed to have on right now is not actually happening. And I'm going to step away for 1 second, and we're going to change that scene, and we're going to make that happen. But God keeps on bringing things into my life to help me to practice this presence of which he was talking about today. You see, one of the toughest things that you'll ever deal with is when things don't go your way. I don't know if this has happened to you. It's happened to me multiple times this morning. And but my pops would always be, he would help me to understand where I came from, right? Where I came from. There was a day where I didn't have a couple of cameras, didn't have a studio to be able to record in, didn't even have a microphone set up. If you go back to episode 1, my mic was not actually plugged in to the computer. I just had it in front of me because it looked cool. The sound was awful, all these things. And now with multiple cameras, although I'm not exactly where I would love to be, which is all the cameras working, the places in the studio, all these things set up, I'm definitely not where I used to be. And that means that I could be grateful in being right here, right now, because this is where the magic happens. See, the magic my brother told me this. He said, people won't be as inspired by your wins. They'll hear it, but they're going to be more inspired by you screwing up, the things that your failures, and they want you to share them with them. Today, it was, there's a lot of stuff that didn't go exactly planned. You guys saw it and it happened in real time. And that's why we do the podcast live. If you go back to the last episode, again, I stuttered a lot, things like that. But I just want you to know that when we sit in this place, there is some reason, I don't know it right now, but there is some reason why God is going to bless through just simply being present in the circumstances that maybe aren't the greatest in the entire world. I was very fortunate because I had my brother, I have my big brother Rob, I have my buddy and my best friend Will, I have my pops. And if you look at the thumbnail on today's episode, you'll see a picture of all of us together. And I could tell you that's where the magic happens. Now, for me, a lot of times I get off and I get focused on the next thing. I get focused on the next scene. I get focused on the next episode. I get focused on the next big. And what my brother keeps telling me is, Kel, just shut up for a second. Quiet down, slow down, and sit right where you are, because this is where the magic happens. See, Proverbs 27 gives us a blueprint to stay present and to listen up, write it down, and apply it in your life. And when you do that, then go and share it with every single person. That is the charge today. Hear that. Stay present. So listen to Proverbs 27. Read it. I implore you, read it today. Write it down. Apply it in your life, and then go share it with every single person that you encounter. In verse 1, it's not always about you. This is a hard thing for me to understand because I'm the baby in the family, and, I had name brand cereal. My brothers didn't get that, and I got a lot of presents for Christmas. A lot of times my brother, one time I got everything for Christmas, and my brother got underwear, socks, and a brush. He still gives me a hard time to this day, but as the baby in the family, if you can relate, if you are the baby in the family, or if you have a baby in the family, you know that a lot of times they want it to be about them. And so this was a hard one to swallow. And some terminology we used to use from Lompoc, California was like, if a person was all about themselves, beating their chest, all these things, we were like, number one, it's not all about you. But number two, the way that we would talk to each other is like, get off your own jock. Like, get off your own jock and celebrate other people and speak life into other people. In verse 1, it covers this. Now, I paraphrased it, obviously, but I would implore you to read that and check it out. In verse 2, work hard and let everyone else talk. Work hard and let everyone else talk. You see, most of the time what I find is that we want to, as soon as we do something, when I say this with myself, as soon as I do something, I want to shout it out at the top. If it didn't happen on social media, didn't take a picture of it, didn't take a video, it didn't get likes, it didn't happen. Well, imagine when you just keep doing the work and you simply master your craft, the world will find you. In verse number 3, sticks and stones can hurt you or can hurt me, and words can ruin progress if you let them. I think one of the greatest amounts of Kevlar that I've seen a person have to words around them is my brother Rob. And the reason why is because he fills himself up. He's constantly reading. He's constantly educating himself. So when he hears somebody speak an untruth or speak something that's not in line with what he knows to be true, he shuns it immediately. And so he prepares his mind that way. And I just think that it's incredible. And sticks and stones may break your bones, and words can kill your progress only if you let them. In verse 4 and 20 of Proverbs 27, comparison and jealousy never end well. Comparison and jealousy never end well. And when you notice this, when you start comparing yourself or you're jealous, you're not able to be present in that moment. You're not able to soak up that moment, and where the moment is where the magic is. You see, the plans, like where success can be in the plan. We could talk about all these things. We could do all these performas, but the magic will always be in the moment. And my pops taught me this with the rule of 10. And he said, every person that you touch will send 10 people to you or send 10 people away from you. And imagine the multiples that can happen. If I touch one and they say send 10, and then I touch those 10 and they send 10, that's 100. Those 100 send 10, that's 1,000. Imagine how quickly I can multiply. But most of the time, what we're thinking is, no, I want to start to broadcast to the thousands or the millions or whatever it is, and then hopefully I'll get a true connection with one. Why not start with one? Be present in that moment and watch it go. In verse 5, it talks about speaking truth in love. Sometimes, but listen to that whole thing. Speak truth. Some people just stop at that. I speak truth. I just tell it how it is. Is it in love? Is it wrapped in love? If you're speaking truth and it's not wrapped in love, sometimes you could hurt people. And that's not ever our intention. Sometimes we're like, no, I'm just trying to be real. Well, make sure that it's always wrapped in love. And that's what it explains here. And to be present with somebody is to absolutely love them, show them as much love as possible. That's where that presence is. And I learned this with my buddy Joe yesterday, Joe Shumpert. He was on the podcast. And if you didn't get a chance to see him, he is an unbelievable human, incredibly present. And my phone even rang during the podcast, which showed that I wasn't present. So God keeps showing me over and over again. In verse 7, slow down. And this is tough. Too much chocolate will make you sick. See, last night I had my dinner, and then I thought, since I ate my dinner, I should reward myself. Jen Moses won't like me for this, or Tony Kress won't like me for this, is I should reward myself because I ate the dinner and it had vegetables in it. So now I could have a dessert. So I went and I broke open the Halloween candy, tried to not make my kids look because I'm not supposed to do it. My wife, I was trying to do it when she wasn't looking. And then I had a Snickers, and then it was one of those little fun size, and it's fun. So you should have it. That's why it's called fun size. So I had that, but I was like, man, this tastes good. Then I had another one. Then I had another one. Then I had another one. Then when I was 5 in, I was like, man, this doesn't taste as good as it did. And I don't feel that well right now. The reason why is because too much chocolate can make you sick. Too much of something great can make you a little sick of it. So just slow down, enjoy it, be present, and watch that magic happen. Verse number 8, it talks about working your land. This is something that is so common in Proverbs, is just work your land. Like when you become a master at what you do, I find that my head goes crazy when I'm constantly trying to be here and there. And what the world will tell us is have 17,000 side hustles. Now be a master of what it is that you do. And when you're a master of what you do, you have unlimited energy. You'll be filled up with love. You'll be able to stay present, and you'll be able to give to people because you won't be so spread out. And I tell you, this is a thing that God gets on me all the time about, is just work your land. Well, how do I work my land? Well, number one, figure out what your gifts are. What were you innately gifted with? Every one of us has it. Then go give that away to every single person and watch all the magic that will happen around you. You don't need to be everything to everybody. You just need to be you to the person in front of you and watch that magic happen. In verse 11, it talks about wisdom will always bring joy. There's very seldom when I read through Proverbs or I read through the word anywhere where it says, if you do this, you'll get that. Like, the reason why I say it is because most of the time we're looking for a result. Oh, if I do this, will I get that? No, that's not the way a relationship works. Oh, well, if I bring you flowers, will you do, does this happen later? No, when we get into that type of relationship, those kind of relationships don't really work. But in this one, wisdom always brings joy. Well, what is joy? Joy is the art of falling in love with your current circumstances and allowing magic to happen. Now, what is wisdom? Wisdom is the right use of knowledge. Where does wisdom come from? Wisdom comes and begins with the fear of God. What is the fear of God? That word was actually interchangeable with respect. Well, how can we respect God? Just spend time with him. See that his words and his actions are in line. And when that happens with anyone in your life, you respect him. When you respect him, he'll give you wisdom, which is the right use of knowledge. When you have the right use of knowledge, it'll bring you joy into your life because every single bit of knowledge you'll know what to do with, and you'll be able to stay present in that moment. And you'll be able to fall in love with all those circumstances, even when the scene doesn't work, the camera doesn't turn on, and things don't go as well as what I want them to. I could still stay joyful because I'm falling in love with my current circumstances and allowing this magic to be able to happen. Because if the last episode where I stuttered and stammered and did all the things didn't happen, I wouldn't appreciate the fact that I could be here with you, looking right dead into your eyes and being here present with you and getting a little bit better every single day. In verse number 12, this is profound, so I want you to dig into this. Grab a pen, and I want you to write it down. The thought of the future will slow you down into the magic of this present moment. The thought of the future will slow you down into the magic of this present moment. When I think about all the amazing things that are on their way, it can slow me down. And when I accept them, when I reverence the fact that they're already going to happen. And my pops would always say this. He would say, what if every single thing that you ever prayed for in your entire life actually came into being? How would you feel? I said, well, I would relax and I'd celebrate. I wouldn't worry anymore and all those things. He said, why don't you just act that way now? Why don't you just act that way now? Because that's an act of faith, and that's what the relationship with God is based on, not on circumstance. Verse 13. Avoid debt personally, professionally, spiritually, and financially. You see, if you want to be present when avoid debt. And there's good debt, there's bad debt, and people will argue this and they'll go back and forth on it. But I tell you, when you are in debt personally, when you're in debt professionally, spiritually, or financially, you have the tendency to think about all the things that you need to do, all the things that you did before, and you can't keep your mind right here in this present moment because you got a monkey on your back. Verse 14, it just says, or verse 13, it just says, stay out of debt. In verse 14, understand the content, context, and timing of your words. Understand what you're saying, understand the context in which you're saying it in, and understand the timing in which you're saying it. And I tell you, this will help you to avoid a lot of things and help you to be able to stay present in that moment. Because the only way you can stay present with your words is to understand the content, understand the context, and then sit in the timing. Because sometimes the right word at the wrong time can bring the wrong result. In verse 15 and 16, get your home in order first. This happens so often. I talk with entrepreneurs all the time. I talk with business owners, and they're like, oh man, I got this great business idea. I'm moving forward. I'm doing all these things. But you know what? Me and my wife been having some challenges, and it's caused me to not be able to focus on what it is that I'm doing. And I'm like, guys, you got to understand all the greatest concepts and business concepts in the whole entire world will falter if your home is not in order. The reason why is because that company that you did the pro forma for is going to have to make twice as much in the event that that relationship and your marriage does not work, because you're going to be paying for that lifestyle and this lifestyle. So you're going to have to take your pro forma and make it twice as much, which is going to put a strain on what it is that you're doing. So get your home in order first. The most important thing that you can focus in on, and my brother tells me this all the time, that you don't think about changing the world, just think about altering or shifting and loving the people that are sitting around the table with you every night. In verse 19, 21, and 22, this is just very important because there's 3 verses that hit it, is character matters, and you will be tested by your praise. Some people say like you'll be tested like in the valley. Yes, you will be tested in the valley. But when you're praised at the highest, we get to see how you're going to act, what is actually in our heart. And this is a challenge because when things go right, we can see our character comes out too. So just be conscious of that. And if you want to stay present, lock in. When you get praised, lock in and know where you came from. Know where you want to go, and that will help you to be able to stay in this moment. In verse 24 through 27, this moment will determine your future, so stay present and honor it. It stays pretty simple that way. You see, when I was telling you earlier that when I came to my pops all the time and I would be so riled up, he would ask me this question. He would say, what if everything you're praying for came into being? How would you feel? And I would always respond the exact same way. I would say that I would relax and that I would celebrate. And then he would tell me, why don't you act like that right now? Which will be an act of faith. And that is what your relationship with God is based on, not on circumstance. It's not waiting till you get the blessing that you want and then praising God for that. That's nothing more than circumstance. But he's saying, what if you had the faith? What if you had the faith to praise him right now for the things that are on their way? And watch this. It takes faith to be present. And that presence is where all of the magic is at. And so when you get to a point today, if you're not having the perfect day, which I think that you should because it's Friday and every day is always perfect, right? Everything works out, especially technology. We already saw that. But if you're in a place where things aren't going exactly the way that you want them to be, your circumstances aren't exactly where you want them to be, settle in for a second. Settle in for a second and ask yourself, are you where you used to be? Probably not. Are you exactly where you want to be? No, but I'm so glad that I'm not where I used to be. Respect what has happened in the past. Reverence what's going to happen in the future so you can reside right here in the present where all the magic happens. This has been another episode of Inchstones. Make sure you subscribe. Buy the book, too. Check out Bling. Buy Bling, too. It'll change your life. Buy it for your wife. I think it'll be amazing. The Vibe Room is coming up. It's going to be incredible. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat.
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to